Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to today's live Zoo to You. Today's Zoo to You is brought to you by MIFA on behalf of the U Fund College Investing Plan. My name is Lexi. I am an educator here at the Stone Zoo, and today I am here with our North American porcupines. If you have any questions during our chat today, please be sure to put those in the comments, and I will try my best to answer those at the end of our chat. So that first porcupine you are seeing is Tarth, and she is our female. She is currently walking away right now, and she is 3 years old. She will be turning 4 at the end of March. So if you come by at the end of March, just know that it is Tarthy's birthday and she'll be turning 4. She came to us from the Elmwood Park Zoo almost 3 years ago now. And then our male, who is currently tucked up there up in the tree, his name is Fezzik, and he is our male. He is 6 years old, and he came to us at the Stone Zoo from the Bronx Zoo almost 6 years ago now. So porcupines are generally a solitary species, and you might be wondering, well, then why are these two together? And to that I say, great question. So what's really interesting about porcupines is that they are generally solitary, especially in the summertime. However, once we get into the winter months and it gets pretty chilly, porcupines will tend to find a mate to share a den with in the winter. Now, the follow-up question to that is, well, if they're finding a den, they probably are hibernating, right? And to that I say, no, they are not hibernating. They just like to cozy up and find a place to stay with a mate, which is really unique. So these two were paired together through a species survival plan, or an SSP. If you have watched any of our other Zoo to Use, this term is probably pretty familiar to you. But if you do not know what that means, these two were put together to help maintain a genetically healthy and diverse population here in human care, which is really, really great. So although these two have been paired together for breeding purposes, they have not had any babies quite yet. So these two are North American porcupines, and as that name suggests, they are native to North America. So they like to live in really densely forested areas. Their population is really, really spread out throughout Canada and lots of northeastern US, so we're talking here up in New England, and they also have a really big population throughout the western United States, which I thought was pretty interesting. In their natural environment, they will live around 15 years or so, and then in human care, they will live over 20 years. So North American porcupines are herbivores, and if you're not sure what that means, they are plant eaters, and their day-to-day diet consists of things like leaf eater biscuits, and if you have any dogs or cats at home, it's kind of similar to like a kibble. However, it is designed specifically for herbivores like these guys, just to get that extra nutrients and minerals that they need to keep them nice and healthy. They also get apples and lettuce and sweet potato. And Fezzik is coming up to the camera because behind the camera we have Brian, educator Brian, and he is giving him some sweet potato. So enjoy some porcupine munching right now. Ooh, a little shake off as well. So you may, if we got close enough on the camera, you might notice that they have bright orange or yellow teeth also, which is really cool. And those teeth are called incisors, and those teeth are an orangey yellow color because that's actually the enamel on their teeth, which helps to keep their teeth super, super strong. And so, as I mentioned, they have those two large incisors, which indicate that they are rodents. They are the second largest rodent in North America, second to the North American beaver. And they eat lots of hard things, kind of like a raw sweet potato like we were seeing before, or we have a little piece of apple here maybe. See if Fezzik wants to eat that. Oh, enjoying some apple, fabulous. So they'll eat things like raw sweet potato, they'll nibble on some wood, and even things like reindeer antlers to help wear down those teeth. So to kind of go off and talk about that a little bit, this is a really unique type of enrichment that they would get. So our reindeer here at the Stone Zoo, they lose their antlers every year. It's kind of a similar process to losing a tooth. Their antlers will just simply fall off. And what's really cool about this is we're able to give those antlers out as enrichment to other animals. So North American porcupines have a really, really great sense of smell. So they will like to nibble on those antlers because it helps wear down their teeth, and they really, really enjoy the smell. So in their natural habitat, to continue talking about their diet, they will eat things like berries, seeds, leaves, and roots in the summertime, lots of good things in the summer. And then in the winter, they're eating things like evergreen needles and the inner bark of trees, which I think is cool. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about some of their really cool adaptations. The first one that you can't really miss are their quills. And a common myth about porcupines is that they can shoot their quills. So they cannot shoot their quills, but what's interesting about them is that they can shed them on impact. And so what that means is if their quills are standing up and a predator maybe touches them, their quills will be in that animal trying to perhaps eat them. And another really cool thing about their quills is that they have microscopic barbs on them, which makes it really, really challenging to pull them out if you got poked by one. And sometimes, and maybe earlier you noticed that Fezzik shook off a little bit, and I'm not sure, I couldn't tell, but maybe a quill or two fell off when he was shaking, or when he shook off rather. And what's really interesting about that is they lose their quills kind of similarly to the way that we lose hair. And so if they're sharing, that's nice. So if they have a loose quill, kind of like we have a loose hair, if they shook off, they might send a quill flying, but they're not shooting it. It's just kind of a loose one that flew away. So they have up to 30,000 quills along their back and on their back legs and on their tail. And something that you could imagine can happen is a porcupine might get quilled. And so one of my new favorite facts about porcupines is that if one gets poked with a quill, another one will come along to help them, and they will use those incisors and other front teeth to help remove any quills. So I mentioned that porcupines will quill maybe a predator that's trying to get them. So a predator that you might imagine around here in the Northeast could be things like bobcats or coyotes, and in other parts of the United States, animals like cougars could be a predator for these guys. So what's really interesting also is you might see all of those kind of whitish, yellowish hairs on them, and those are actually guard hairs, and then all of that darker hair underneath is really, really thick fur. So that is how they stay nice and warm here all winter long. And with all of that really thick hair, it actually makes them look a lot bigger than they actually are. So Fezzik, who you are seeing on your right side, he weighs around 25 pounds. And then Tarth on the left, she only weighs around 17 pounds. So I'm not sure if you guys heard that. My microphone is a little bit far away, but they're making some communication noises. And this is another adaptation I kind of wanted to talk about. So porcupines will communicate with things like grunts and squeaks. And they have really, really good sense of hearing and smell. So this is a really cool adaptation. They don't have the best eyesight, so they will communicate with one another with those little grunts and squeaks. So they are also a nocturnal species. So that means that they are primarily awake at night. And based on their exhibit, you might imagine that they really enjoy spending their time up in the trees. So with them being high up in the trees and being nocturnal animals, you probably will rarely ever see them, if ever at all. And this is really cool too, because if you enjoy hiking, You might be on a trail and there could be porcupines up in the trees and you had no idea because they were just up there sleeping. And then to kind of wrap up our time today, I wanted to talk about a couple of fun facts about our porcupine friends. So my fun facts for you are that a family of porcupines is called a prickle, which I think is very silly, and a baby porcupine is called a porcupette. So I'm just going to check in and see if we have any questions in the chat. I see one that asks if they like, what do they like for enrichment? So as I mentioned before, they have really, really great senses of smell. So they will get some smelly things, like for example, as I mentioned earlier, they will get a reindeer antler perhaps that has a new smell on it. They might get feathers from another animal in the zoo that has another smell on it, which is really, really cool. Another question, do his quills come out when he shakes? So they might come out when he shakes. Their quills are kind of similar to our hair and they might lose them naturally. So if he shook off and he had a loose quill, it could send one flying.
Someone asked if their quills grow back.
Oh, I see a question asking if we shaved him, would his quills grow back? They do grow back. So kind of similarly to our hair, if they lost some quills, they would grow back, which is really, really cool. So I believe that is all the time that we have for today. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, today's Zoo to You is brought to you by MIFA on behalf of the U Fund College Investing Plan. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed learning about our North American porcupine friends. If you stop by the Stone Zoo, you can find them in the Yukon Creek area, which is where you can also find our bald eagle, our lynx, and our Arctic foxes. I hope you're all having an excellent start to your new year and have a great day. Bye.